Thank you. Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask Angela to do a roll call for the quorum purpose.
Thank you, Tom. Abedili.
Present.
Hearn.
Present.
Kashulik.
Present.
Lee.
Present.
Sampu.
Present.
Tangney. Present. Administrator Ed Hoops.
Present.
And Staff Member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
All
are present, and we have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or Chapter 237 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October the 7th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. for the applications of Lydia Smith, Stephen Stepinian, and Darcy Very Gilson. New Rushy Mars Realty LLC, Timothy and Susanna Estella, Dimitra Herman, Harold C. Coxell, Monica Roper and Paul Burgess, Corey Swartz. This hearing is being recorded and broadcasted on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. The plans and applications are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointments by sending email requests to @hoops at 230 South Street, Hyannis. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, please let the chair know if anyone is recording this hearing. Hearing none, tonight's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda, next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisements. Please send your checks to the Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participation. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an extending certain COVID-19 measure adopted during the state of emergency, signed by the Governor on March 28, 2025, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law. Remote public access to this hearing shall be provided in the following manner. 1. The hearing will be televised via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. 2. Real-time public comments can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 889-2615-1681 or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. Third, the public can also email the comment to edwin.hoops@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. Tonight, you'll notice that we have a long agenda. Please limit your comments to within our jurisdictions under the State Wetland Protection Act and the Local Ordinances, Chapter 237. With the long agenda, I'll probably take a 5-minute break sometime later this evening. We have 3 RDAs tonight. The first one is Lydia Smith, remove hatch along the patios to reduce maintenance, control invasive plant growth, and minimize the impact on the surrounding resource area and replants with native plants at 30 West Bay Terrace, Austerville, as shown in Assessors Map 071013. Julie?
Yes. My name is Julie Estevez of Julia Garden Design, and I'm proposing a replacement of the current, it's a Japanese holly Iris crenata hedge that is along her pool area. And she'd like to replace the footprint with a dense planting of inkberry, a dwarf inkberry, and behind that,
Yes, I can.
Sorry if you can hear me, little blue stem, a upright cultivar of little blue stem, and behind that, Sporobolus, which is prairie dropseed, and a very dense planting of that. And also we would put in a silt, not a silt fence, a silt sock behind that. Any other?
Could you please unmute? Let me know if you're here to speak to an agenda item.
I'm sorry?
No, don't worry about that. That's the channel 18. I think asking Barry to mute himself. Anyway, go back to the RDA. Any comment or question from the commission?
Try leaving the meeting and then coming back in. We'll try again.
Really? Okay, you can't hear me, huh?
No, we can hear you, but it's you need to mute yourself right now.
Tom Bunker, could you unmute? Let me know if you're here to speak to an agenda item.
Yes, for Virtuous.
Channel 18 is what's interrupting us, Tom.
Yeah.
Or E, it's on Ocean View Avenue.
Channel 18. We can hear yours.
The owner, representative, and the representative. Okay.
I can sit down until I know it's going to be a while for that Tom. No.
Oh no, that's fine. I'll invite you over.
Channel 18, can we go back to the hearing?
I was just going to listen in, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. Are you? Is there an item of interest?
Starboard Lane, if that's going on tonight.
Yeah, and if you do get disconnected at all, we are live streaming on the town website or on channel 8 or 1072.
Maybe get channel 18 off.
Yeah.
Can they mute it?
Yeah. Okay, Angela.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, back to the RDA. Just two quick questions. One, at this point, why are we removing the hedge? I missed that part. I'm sorry if you said that, but why are they removing the hedge? Is it the care?
And let me know if you're an agenda item.
We're removing the hedge to reduce the maintenance.
Good evening. I didn't plan on it.
Sorry.
Ed, can you mute from your controls? Can you mute everybody in the meeting and then we'll unmute to talk?
Or for channel 8 or 1072 are both options.
10:15.
Yeah, generally the Zoom is just if you have public comment, but you're more than welcome to join.
I usually
Channel 18, can you mute yourself?
talk and then say,
Okay. Yeah.
It's probably worth anyone watching this problem we're having since COVID in 2020. This hasn't happened before. This is a weird thing that's going on for those that don't regularly tune in here.
Yeah, channel 18, you're not in a breakout room. You're in the main meeting. You're in the main meeting, not the breakout room.
Sorry for the wait.
This is weird.
Thank you, Dan. Julie, can you answer the question again?
Sure. The client would like to have a lower area, a lower hedge area, and to reduce the maintenance of the hedge.
So keeping the hedge down has been a lot of maintenance. I understood. Okay. Most of this lies right in the resource. I went to see it last week. I should have gone to see it today because it's such a beautiful pool and such a beautiful area. Would have jumped in. There's a lot of sumac and undisturbed things beyond the hedge. So your plan is just to remove the hedge and put something in there that won't grow as high. So how will you keep, I'm trying to understand the maintenance of this. Once the hedge is gone, you're still going to have to do some maintenance, correct?
Yes. So, so just that area we're replacing. Any other type of pruning, beyond that will be part of a vista pruning request from the arborist. So we just want to, from my end, we just want to remove and replace that footprint of the hedge now. And the hedge is really wide right now, so this will reduce that width as well.
Yeah, it is. I noticed it's big, it's thick, and I understand that. I only ask, I don't have a problem with this. Please be gentle.
Yes, no, we do it all by hand.
You're right in that resource area, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Julie.
Over on the iPhone.
Mr. Chairman.
Channel 18. Channel 18. This is not the breakout room. I mean, you are speaking, well, everybody is listening to you. So, are we all set? Angela, you all set?
I am, Tom. Thank you.
Any other question from the commissioner? So Julie, you mentioned about vista pruning is not part of this application. You are only talking about replacing the hedge and with some native planting and stuff like that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. 10/18, any public comment on this application?
Seeing none?
None? Can I have a
Picture.
who's speaking?
Channel
No,
18 again.
You're all set, Tom.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second RDA is Stephen Stapinian and Darcy Very. Construct a 14 feet 8 inches by 13 foot 13 and a half patio adjacent to deck and sunroom with downspouts diversions from foundation at 291 South Main Street, Centerville, as shown on Assessors Map 207, parcel 085-001. Darcy?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Yes, as you said, we'd like to construct a patio 14.8 by 13.6, runs adjacent right along the deck and right along the sunroom, which there is a photograph that might show a little bit better. The second piece of that is in the photo, you will see it clearly. There's 2 downspouts. And what we'd like to do is divert the downspouts under the patio, reconnect, and then extend out.
You must be watching. Darcy, are you watching it on another screen?
No. No, I'm not.
Okay.
Is it your phone?
I'm on my computer.
Okay.
No. Okay. Just the computer. No. Just the computer.
Oh, my God.
Let me move. I'm trying to move back to see if it goes away. I can't get my audio to work, or my video to work either.
No, that's okay. On the video, so you can hear us. Any question that we come up with.
And then we were going to extend out and put a dry well in. Like this?
Yes.
Might do it. Yeah, and repeat password and everything's fixed.
Okay.
And it's to load, but I can read that password.
Any question from the commissioner? None? This is a fairly straightforward project. 10/18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none?
None? Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
Tangney, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Darcy. The next RDA is Stuart Gibson. Constructions of an elevator 24 by 20 by 24 second story deck attached to the east side of the house, connect to a 10 by 13 and a half sections on the southeast corner of the house to facilitate entry directly to the interior of the at 3385 Main Street, Barnstable, as shown on Assessors Map 299, parcel 044-002. Susan?
Oh, Stuart. Stuart here. Yeah, Gilson. Yeah, Stuart here. Hi.
Go ahead.
So do you want me to just describe the project?
Yeah.
So
questions.
Okay, so we were proposing to put in this elevated deck. The barn is what's known as a bank barn, so the land starts up high, and then as you get to the back, it slopes down at a fairly steep rate. so that it's an elevated second-story deck that's going to be attached to the, or would be attached to the east side of the house, and then a little sort of finger, if you will, of deck curling around the southeast corner to give access to the inside of the house. The plan involves no excavation, no removal of natural plants, soils, or trees, and no ground hardscape to be added to what's already there.
Okay, thanks. Any question from the commissioner? Seeing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Stuart. Good luck.
Thank you, folks. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
And then we have 6 NOI. The first one is New Rushing Mars Realty LLC. Proposed pond dredging within an existing pond on a residential lot at 1541 Main Street, Contuit, as on an assessors map 017 parcel 007. Sean.
So if I share my screen,
Yes, please.
let me know when you guys can see this.
Got it.
Yep, got it.
So this is another project at Rushing Marsh Farm. About 3 or 4 years ago, we started seeing a lot of algae blooms and a lot of vegetation growing in the small pond to the right of the driveway. This is an isolated pond in front of the Japanese pavilion that we permitted a few years back, just opposite the enforcement action over on this side. When we started seeing the problem, we started floating around some ideas. I met with some vendors about possible treatments and things like that. Wasn't terribly thrilled with sort of the responses we got in terms of certainty that it would work. So what we did is we did some bathymetry of the pond to see, how deep it was and how much muck was in it. We found that the pond ranged obviously from 0 feet to about 5-6 feet deep, had about 2 feet of muck in the bottom, which suggested to us that really what the best course of action was to sort of dredge the pond and get rid of the muck, and if possible, create some additional volume so that the pond could be healthier for a longer period of time. So what we're proposing is to do, switch out of this. Let me just go to the plan. Let me know when you can see this as well.
Not yet.
Should come up shortly.
Yep.
So the outline you see in green, that's the edge of the BVW around the pond. The orange line is the land underwater line. So we have a pretty good lens of pretty thick vegetation around the edge. The goal would be to start about 15 feet, 10 feet in from the existing vegetated edge. So we leave a sort of a layer of organics around the edge so that we can still have some of that lily pad growth along the edge, but then start sort of creating some volume from there going in and then eventually matching the lowest point of the existing pond, which is about in this area right here. Even in this area, there's about 2 feet of muck. Generally speaking, the muck ranges from 1 foot to 2 feet thick around the rest of the pond. So the idea is to really just take what is an existing low point towards the pond here and propagate that low point all the way out to the sides and leave the edges as currently stands. Our strategy for doing that is to use a long stick boom excavator. So we have a boom that can reach about 60 feet out into the pond. The goal there would be we'd create a little timber mat platform here and then work our way out into the pond, do the excavation on the far side. And then as we finish the excavation, we back out and remove the timber matting. We'd be dewatering the material right here in a stone containment area. the idea is that give that a day to settle out and let the water drain back into the pond. And then all the excavated material would be moved to the north paddock where we're planning to mix it with the excavation from the expansion that we're doing in the paddock area, and then use that for some filling around upland areas on the site.
Sean, can you confirm what is that green line versus the yellow line?
The green line is the edge of the BVW, the bordering vegetated wetland.
Okay.
And then the orange line is the beginning of the land underwater.
Okay. So you're grading below the water level.
Correct. Yeah, we're maintaining, the landowner wants to maintain a pretty thick edge of the lily pads just to keep that sort of aesthetic. So he wants to stay inside of that.
Okay.
The only impact we'd have is about 155 feet of temporary impact of the BVW here that we'd repair as we go out.
Okay. Angela?
Yeah, again, I might have missed something. And why are we doing this? Are you trying to make a koi pond or something here, or are you doing it for the dredging material? I missed that.
No, just to control algae and the excessive plant growth in the pond. So over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been seeing big algae blooms in the pond, and then really the pond gets taken over by the lily pads. So we're hoping to create some additional volume and get rid of the muck that's accumulated at the bottom of the pond.
Because you're gonna do what with it? I mean, if this is just for looks, for aesthetic reasons, he doesn't like how it looks?
Well, just for the overall health of the pond. And and because it's getting choked out by all the lily pads.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Bill?
What is the origin of the pond? Is this like a kettle pond, a former impoundment? And my second question, which is more important, is there an outlet to this pond?
We don't know of any outlet to the pond. So as far as I understand, it's completely disconnected from everything around. I don't know the origins. It's been there for as long as I've been on the site. I did not look back in the history or the old USGS maps.
Yeah, I ask about the outlet only in that if there was an outlet and you went in there and dredged, you would have a very thick, muddy mess coming out of it. So therefore, we would it doesn't look like there is an outlet, but I mean, if there is an outlet, we definitely have to make sure that there's no flow out of it when you're dredging.
Well, what we can certainly do is if we see anything happening, if it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to happen on the pond on the other side. So I'm certain there's no connection across Main Street. If there is a connection, it would be something buried deep in the weeds. So what we do is we'd keep an eye on things, and if we saw anything showing up on the other side, we'd certainly address it. But I know of no connection between the two ponds.
That would be the really obvious significant impact if you started bleeding out mud out of that.
Yeah.
Are you all set, Bill?
Yeah.
Pete?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we've ever allowed dredging of a pond in the past. It is a significant alteration. I'm quite familiar with a technique for limiting algal growth, which is stimulated probably by the nutrients in a small body like this, and that can be remedied actually by essentially putting hay bales in it. The respiration by the bacteria in the hay bales, a high carbon concentrated bit of organic matter, sucks up the nutrients from the water, thereby limiting algal growth. You just have to remove the bales of hay before they rot completely in the pond. So to alleviate algal growth, a much cheaper alternative is this hay bale placement technique. I even have a good friend who's doing that down in Rhode Island with a small pond he's got, and he's been quite successful. So there is literature on that. With respect to actually dredging a pond, I mean, we're talking about a major alteration of an environment that's within our jurisdiction, and I'm pretty hesitant about that. So I'll listen to what my other commissioners are going to say about that, but I'm a little bit worried about precedent here. Thank you.
And admittedly, I was actually kind of looking forward to this conversation with you and Bill, Pete, because this is something I'm unfamiliar with too. But the wetland scientists that I talked to all said that the most reliable way to maintain the health of the pond is to get rid of the muck and create more volume in the pond. So, but by all means, if there are other options, by all means, we're open to listening to it.
Well, we'll certainly look into that hay bale technique.
Right.
Give that a look. It's been published, and I got a friend who's doing it right now, as I said, in Rhode Island on a small pond about this size.
And so that means just breaking up hail.
No. Don't break them up.
Okay.
Don't break them up. Keep them baled.
And then you just put them inside the pond, and
yes, they float in the surface of the water.
Yeah.
And as the bacteria grow to work off of the hay carbon, they suck nitrogen and phosphorus out of the water because the hay itself is very nutrient poor. So you build up a bacterial biomass within this floating hay bale as it initiates rotting, and then you pull it out before it disintegrates, and you now have a hay bale that's full of nutrients that it's sucked out of the water.
And do you know how long that typically takes, Pete?
On the order of weeks. It's fairly fast. And I think I saw it when I used to be a researcher down in Maryland. They said they needed dry bales, but no, you don't. You just need a high carbon concentrate. And I think we've got someone in the town as well that's doing that in one of our ponds. I remember that. I can't remember the pond itself, but they're doing that as a pilot project in our town. If any of my fellow commissioners remember where that is, please shout out.
You're talking about Long Pond in Marston's Mills. They had a floating island.
Yes.
And I can't remember if they were seeding it with several species or something, or maybe they were really tiny plants and they were going to grow a jungle on a de facto raft in the pond in order to remove nutrients.
There was a proposal so there is a DPW project that's doing floating island for removal of phosphate. They've been permitted to do that. This is the second year they've been doing that. There was a proposal for barley straw to be used as a potential for removal or reduction of cyanobacteria. That was also proposed in Long Pond. They ultimately withdrew that, though. So no, as far as I know, there's no project like that going on in town right now.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Yeah, I can remember those pilot projects from the DPW that I recall. The only other thing, though, Sean, is dredging the pond is one thing, but regrading it under the water is kind of, I don't think that we have permitted before. So, John.
Yeah, I don't think we should be using our meeting time to discuss all these options. I think, Sean, you've heard some good suggestions from Pete and Ed. You just may want to be in contact with Ed afterwards to get names, et cetera. I think the only issue before us is whether or not a dredging of a pond, which is, I think you're right, Tom, I don't remember this before, is in fact harmful. Can it be conditioned without doing harm to the wetland resource? And I think the dredging, so I would approve this application with a recommendation that he consider alternatives, and he can always come back to us for those options.
Thank you, John. Any other question from the commissioner?
Yeah. Are we just dealing with algae, or I was thinking that this was full of vascular plants as well. Is that not a concern? Is it just about algae?
It's about the loss of volume in the pond with all the muck. So as the years go by, it just accumulates more and more muck, and we lose more and more volume, which means we've got more and more algae blooms and more growth. So yes, when we remove the muck, there's definitely going to be the residuals of plant material in it.
But it's not. I mean, are there a lot of weeds? Submerged weeds, lily pads galore, and all of that, or?
There are. It's almost the whole pond is covered in lily pads during the course of the summer.
Excuse me, I'm not sure if you're done. Tom, I have another question when Bill is done. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
There was an issue that I saw about requiring water. So I already tested. Where does that stand, Sean?
Are you referring to the water quality certification?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were contesting it, and I'm curious as to how that was resolved.
Yeah, it hasn't been resolved yet. So what John's speaking about is DEP commented that we would be required to get a water quality cert. And our understanding from the regulations and from what's on the DEP's website is that if we don't require a federal permit, that we wouldn't need a water quality certification. Our position, this wouldn't be a jurisdictional federal water because it's isolated and it's not connected to any other federal waters. So we admittedly have to resolve that issue as well.
But that's not an issue we need to address as the Conservation Commission, correct?
I don't believe so, but I'll defer to Ed on that.
Ed, what do you think?
No, that's correct. That's something that they do have to resolve it before they carry on with any project, assuming this is approved. But that's not something we would be responsible for issuing.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question from the commissioner?
Tom, could I just ask one? Sean, you had mentioned the wetland ecologist. Who is the wetland ecologist that you're using for your as your manager?
We don't have one. These are friends and coworkers. So Scott Goddard is one of the people that I talked to, and then Ken DeShays from my office I talked to. I haven't spoken with Ian or the folks at Wilkinson Ecological about it.
Okay. And who did the BVW delineation?
That was Goddard Consulting.
Okay. I just would ask that you provide a revised sheet
showing the name of
C101 with the name of the delineator and the day they did the delineation.
Certainly.
And it's just for sheet C101 that would be sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah, so the natural propensity of small ponds is, yes, to fill in. They become marshes as well then. I'm really worried about precedent here, that anyone with a small isolated body of water would feel free to dredge. The one question, Sean, are there any fish in this pond?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so I suspect it's serving as a nursery area for amphibians, whether they're obligate amphibians or terrestrial amphibians.
And Pete, that's part of the reason too for leaving about 15 feet of the edge undisturbed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna work on this, but okay. Thank you for all the information.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique situation.
Yeah, and I really think that this is going to open up a major precedent in our town. If you want to take a small pond and dig it deeper, then go right ahead. I think that the request for one of my commissioners was about getting in writing an evaluation from aquatic ecologists and their sort of background. I'd be really interested in getting professional opinions on this. Thank
Peter,
you.
this is I'm wondering what about a monitoring after this? Would you think some kind of monitoring, Pete, would be required?
No, because I'm sort of just thinking that, once you've done it, it's too late. You're not going to put anything back in it. So, no, I would like to hear some expert advice on this before I myself say yay or nay. But, I can be outvoted.
And I got to say, I agree with Pete. I'm not comfortable with this when there's alternative things to look into. I don't feel like this has been researched enough. I just feel like with everything else going on at this property, this is just one more thing that you guys are doing now. And I'm not comfortable with this. So I can tell you right now, I'm voting no.
Well, I'd suggest that we continue, and I'll provide the additional documentation you guys are looking for. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that'd be helpful, Sean.
Yeah. And then look at the options that Pete was suggesting, and see what would work or not.
And Sean, yes, you will see in the literature that they were, yes, I remember now, barley bales, but I'm pretty sure, again, it's the high carbon concentration of the stalks of whether it's hay or barley that is able to suck that up. And then the Abadili mentioned the floating islands, or someone did, and yeah, the ability of whether it's vegetation growing on floating islands or whether it's bacteria within these bales, they do a good job of sucking nutrients out of a small body of water like this. So really, please give that a look.
Thank you. And it sounds like that would at least slow the sort of the propagation of the muck buildup. So
yeah, major. That would be, essentially it reverses that.
Okay.
Excuse me, one more comment to Pete. Monitoring, and this is going to be continued. We'll see what they come back with, but I just wanted monitoring because of your concern of setting a precedent with this, and I thought maybe we could learn something from it if and when something like this came before us again. Well, that's where I'm starting with my thinking, Pete.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense, Sean, that if this does get approved, we would definitely want to see, 2, 3, 5 years down the pike, has it been a benefit to the local?
Sure. Right.
Thanks, John, for that.
I think that makes sense to me, Peter.
Yep. Bill?
Yeah, I hate to make this a longer thing than I just have to say this. Weed control in ponds has been a problem in Massachusetts for a very long time. And it used to be that people would the state used to fund a lot of herbicide treatments. And they still, I don't know if they still do or don't, but if you deal with lake management manuals or whatnot, they always say that there are 3 things that you can do, basically, when you're confronted with a lot of vegetation. And we just dealt with this like 3 weeks ago, whatever, over on Lake Elizabeth and the other pond there, the 2 link ponds. And we all talked about this, and we ended up approving a herbicide treatment. Cultural eutrophication refers to that natural process of eutrophication where ponds fill in gradually and naturally. But cultural eutrophication comes when it's accelerated. You have runoff. And I don't know if this is culture. It doesn't seem like a really well-developed place. I don't know what its history is. Or this was a farming area. There's all kinds of nitrogen, phosphorus, whatever. But this is a very common problem. And, 101, if you look at lake management, they say dredge. And everyone goes, we can't afford to dredge. Dredging works. It will work. You'll be able to, clear out your vegetation and kind of roll back the time. And wow, we have a lake. Or you can do mechanical harvest. And so therefore, you can get in, literally harvest the weeds, pull them out. And that takes, several iterations because there's going to be a lot of nutrients. And then there's herbicides. This is an age-old problem. And here we have somebody who apparently has the money to dredge it. And if it's cultural eutrophication, meaning this is something that man is really contributing a lot because of his artificial runoff of fertilizers. Well, the landowner, does he have the right to try to protect his pond, to reestablish it as a more aesthetically pleasing, maybe have some fish in it or what have you? Does he have that right? And, I'm thinking, well, maybe they do, as long as they don't do harm elsewhere, which is my concern about the outlet. If you do it, though, it's going to be, you're going to kill every bloody turtle and amphibians and whatnot, and you're going to end up having to start again. And that is, that takes a toll. But animals, populations will recolonize it. That's a natural process, and it will take, does it take 5 years? Does it take 3 years? Does it take 10 years? You're going to have repopulation. And so, we actually, I remember saying, we were talking about Lake Elizabeth just 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I remembered after that meeting that we actually approved a herbicide treatment on a pond that was even smaller than that. I put on my hip boots and we went in there. And I remember Pete, being very supportive. Yeah, well, we'll put herbicide in there. And I'm like going, well, I don't know, maybe that's not a good idea. Well, here's someone who wants to dredge it. And I'm like thinking, well, does he have that right? And part of me is left thinking, maybe he has that right. And it is aesthetic, but it's an aesthetic thing. And he wants to perhaps have, not a weed-choked pond to look at. And I don't know, it's a philosophical thing. You could just let nature take its course. And it eventually it'll fill up and it'll ultimately turn into a field in about, I don't know how many, like 100 years or 200 years or whatever. But I mean, this is a philosophical thing.
And Bill, our preference was to avoid herbicide treatments and alum treatments or other chemical treatments. We were sort of searching for a more natural way of doing it, but just the idea of the herbicides was not a sort of a thing we were.
And if you have extra money, the people over in Lake Elizabeth would love to talk to you.
Sean, how much time do you need?
Probably a couple weeks if I can. I mean, how much time do you need ahead of the next hearing before? If I give you 3 or 4 days, is that enough to review the materials, or what kind of time do you need?
I think 3 or 4 days should be sufficient. If you can submit it electronically so that we can email it out to the commissioner.
Why don't we, when's the next hearing?
14.
Oh, no, I can't make that.
The 28th.
The 28th? Yeah, if we could get a spot on that, if I can get you something. If not, I'll request a continuance.
Okay. Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to continue this applications to October the 28th?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
Tangney, aye. That's unanimous. The continuance to 10/28.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the discussion.
Okay. The second one is the Timothy and Susanna Astor to replace an extend deck above existing patio, replacing existing walkways, and propose vista pruning at 186 Bay Lane, Centerville, as shown on the Assessors Map 186 Parcel 026. And this is John.
Good evening, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. Also in this meeting room somewhere is Rob DeMello, who has also been working with the homeowners on portions of this project. I will bring up the plan for you all. This is located at 186 Bay Lane in Centerville. We are about a 1 acre parcel of land developed with a house since 1969. Off to the rear of the property, there is some open water body that connects out to the Centerville River underneath the culvert, underneath Bay Lane. The resource that we're really dealing with is a bordering vegetated wetland. I brought up for you the colored plan, which shows the existing patio and walkways, etc., in red. And our project is to remove that ground coverage and construct, this is like a walkout house. If you didn't have an opportunity to get there, it's a walkout basement. And we are proposing to construct a elevated deck up at the first floor level, which is in black, and I've tried to kind of highlight here. So this deck is further from the wetland resource, obviously. We're also going to remove the sort of solid walkways going around the house and replace those with just some stepping stones and some risers. All of that results in a reduction in hardscape within the 50-foot buffer. And again, further away from the resource area, all in existing developed areas. And we are also requesting standard vista pruning, kind of the primary corridor off of the deck. And then there is a second existing deck on the side of the house with a little secondary corridor proposed off of that. I think with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Any question from the commissioner?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, just 1 minute. Angela?
Oh,
Sorry, I'll be quick.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with this, but the walkway you're calling hardscape is old brick and it's really permeable and things, it's porous, things get through it. But to me, this is a wash and I don't really have a problem with what you're doing as long as you follow the vista pruning protocol and follow through. The tree in the front that you want to crop or remove the leader is split and one part of it does lean towards the house. How much you actually trying to take down? It's actually a nice tree, but I get one of the big branches is going towards the house. Can you just eliminate that? Do you have to really cut the tree down? And how much did you mean?
So it's like a double tree coming up to like almost out of the ground. And so the idea was to leave the half of it that's not heading towards the house at all and just the one
piece. Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know about the tree. Other than that, I really don't have a problem with the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Bill?
Yeah, in terms of the hardscape, I'm with Angela. It is kind of a wash. Normally, when we see people who want to have two vista corridors, and the subject is raised, and I think we have historically sort of frowned on having two vista corridors. I'm not sure how the other commissioners feel about that, but I don't know that you need two, but yes, that would be my concern.
I would disagree that the commission has only limited people to one. I think it's all site specific.
Yeah,
if
true.
the property is only 50 feet wide, there's probably not room to have two. This is really sort of a blown up version. Let me try to switch over just to be able to show you. I mean, this property does then actually wrap out and around and all the way back towards Bay Lane. We've got a lot of water frontage there. I don't think we're asking for any more percentage of feet than, if not less than you would give other properties.
Thank you, John. I think we usually take this as project site specific in terms of the corridor, the view corridor that we have. A lot of times in general, we have seen two, and sometimes depending on the lot, it could be three that I remember that I saw before. But that's just my perception at this point. Any other question from the commissioner? None? Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project with the standard vista pruning?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, everyone.
The next NOI is Dimitri Herman's proposed seasonal dock at 10 Mineck Road East, as on the Assessors Map 233, Parcel 023. Dan?
Good evening, Chairman Lee, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Dan Ojala, land surveyor and civil engineer with Downcape Engineering in Yarmouthport, and helping Mr. Herman and his wife out with redoing their existing dock out on Burst Pond. I know you have a long agenda, so I'll be a little bit briefer than usual, but it's an existing pier. The new pier meets all your regulations. It's a seasonal pier. We go through in the narrative and on the plan the fact that it's to be removed with the specific date, seasonal storage in the upland portion. And he's got about 300 feet of frontage. It's a very small pier considering, and it meets all your regulations. So I think it would be reasonable to approve, and we can certainly go into any detail if anybody has any questions, but pretty straightforward, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Question from the commissioner. Any question from the commissioner? Angela.
muted.
Thank you, Tom and John. Yeah, I walked this when I was first on this commission at this property, and we had we were looking at mitigation going down to the water. So I know that this property owner has followed through on what we've asked before, and even now in a state of drought that we're in, I can tell that that bank has been untouched, and he's trying to grow the stuff in. And I have no problem. I know this is about a dock, with him following up with this. So I'm just saying that I'm totally for this as is. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Any more questions from the commissioner? Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to approve this project as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
very
Dan.
much. Appreciate it.
The next NOI is Harold C. Coxall to replace the existing timber access stairs and deck in the same footprint with a dry well included in the design at 265 Seaview Avenue, Austinville, as shown on the Assessors Map 138 parcel 020. Chuck?
Chuck Rowland, Cape and Islands Engineering. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with you.
Yep.
You know when that pops up.
Chuck, can you speak up? I can't hear you.
My microphone's down. Is that better?
Even a little louder.
Big louder, yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Much better.
All right. Chuck Rowland, Cape and Islands Engineering. I'm representing the owners of 265 Seaview Avenue. This commission has been to the site for the renovation and proposed additions for the house, as well as the proposed pool patio and the pool house. If any of you went to the site, it is all well underway under construction with construction work limits and so forth. Usually try not to have overlapping filings for you guys to kind of come out during that. So I hope that our house was in order. So the project site is located at 265 Seaview Ave. It's private residence developed with frontage on Nantucket Sound to the south and Seaview Ave to the north. And the lot is occupied with a single-family dwelling and is currently under construction under NC 3279. We are requesting permission to reconstruct the existing timber landing stairs, deck, and hot tub. The entire structure will be reconstructed in the same footprint. Currently, the existing structure showing signs of deterioration and reconstruction is needed to provide safe access to the water. We've provided a dry well at the top of the bank, as shown for a drawdown for winterization and long-term storage. See here, work limit consisting of a silt fence will be installed as shown on the drawing to enclose the confined project area to 2 feet of room around the work. The work limit will be maintained throughout the construction phase until ground surface is stabilized, and efforts will be coordinated to minimize construction time and disturbance within around subject resource areas. The existing structure will be demolished. The new stairs and landing and deck will be constructed largely over the existing stone revetment in the same footprint with in-kind materials. And they'll be positively connecting the structure into the stones. Usually they drill in epoxy and rebar so that way they can attach the post right to the stones. So with that, I'm going to take any questions.
Thank you, Chuck. Any questions from the commissioner? I'm not seeing any hand here. Any comments from the commissioner? Last chance. No. Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney. That's unanimous. Aye, that's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
I
Thank
think
you.
that's
Good
a
luck, Chuck.
first. I appreciate it. No comments. Have a great night.
Yep. The next NOI is Monica Roper and Paul Burgess to rebuild existing stairs, remove invasive species on coastal bank, and vista pruning at 235 and 237 Ocean View Avenue, contoured as shown on Assessors Map 033, Parcel 042 and 043. Tom Bunker. Anyone representing Monica?
Yes, sorry. I was muted. I had some video trouble here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Tom Bunker, BSS Design. We're representing Roper and Burgess at 235 and 237 Ocean View Ave in Cotuit. And also here's Matthew Lautenberger from Wilkinson Ecological Design. So this is, you'd said if I may share my screen, I'll
yeah, please
jump right in here.
It's coming up.
Okay, do you have that there? Our plan?
Yep, we're seeing it out.
Okay, yeah. This is Ocean View Ave, and here we have the locust map. It's right on the Nantucket Sound, just outside of Cotuit Bay. In here, it consists of these two very small lots that just go from the top Ocean View Avenue down to Nantucket Sound. It's basically some lawn up top here, coastal bank, the velocity zone along the bottom of the coastal bank, and then we have some dune and beach, and then of course down into Nantucket Sound. So what we have here is there is an existing stairs which we're proposing to rebuild, but in just a slightly different footprint, basically just rotating rotating the stairs. So that they will, there we go, okay. You see the purple shows where the existing stairs are. They're basically the same, we're just rotating it so it will get away from the property line and move away from all of these arborvitae cedar trees that are up and down the slope. Other than that, there's no change in the stairs. We have a profile. It's basically intended to represent the same dimensions as and slope and there's a landing in between as the existing stairs are on there. And there's a deck. This is one of the lot down here. It's only 10 feet wide. The other lot is this larger piece here. And there's a small deck down here that's 50 square feet. Right in this location, it's sort of projecting over the coastal bank here. So we're proposing to remove that, move it, the face, a new deck, 10 feet landward. The deck does double in size. So it's going from, it includes 62 square feet, the existing, including the ramp. And then, so it's not quite double, but 107 square feet because this is less ramp is required because of its locations on a flatter area. So it's all moving up onto the lawn off of the coastal bank. And it is this area also, the second part of all of this is the Matt Lautenberger Wilkinson Ecological I'll take this down and he can share his screen, proposing on this bank slope right here to do a invasive species management and a vista pruning. Is this owner is the owner of the parcel across the road here on Ocean View Avenue. So there's a vista prune past this elm tree and then down out to Nantucket Sound. So Matt, do you want to?
Yep.
I'll take mine down and you can put yours up.
So as Tom was saying, we are proposing to come into what's a pretty significantly invaded bank here, control and remove invasive species, replant. As you can see, it's a pretty significant replanting, and as well as doing some view management. And again, this is sort of a weird site because the house the clients are in are across the street here. So this is a diagram from our land management proposal. You can see where that proposed vista corridor really is. We're proposing some limited pruning on the arborvitaes, which are up here to bring them back a bit from the property line. But most of the pruning would be occurring on these. There's a cedar tree that's just over the edge of the hill there that has some limbs reaching out there. We're also proposing trimming some of the branches off of the dead cedars at the bottom of the hill that are kind of a hazard. They're like sitting over a kayak area and could be a little hazardous there. The total area we'd be working on the invasives on and restoring is 2,200 square feet, which we think is more than enough to offset the very minor increase in square footage on that deck, which is also being pulled back out of the resource area. And happy to take any questions.
If you are proposing the invasive control in this area, do you need a condition of ongoing invasives management?
Yes, we'd like that. Absolutely.
Okay. John?
Thank you, Tom. Just first, a minor point. If you see where down by the water where there is a boat rack at the bottom.
Yeah, is that shown on your plan, Tom?
Yeah, it's on. It's just not labeled on yours.
Right. That's rectangular shapes under the two existing small oak.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That is just storage for the kayaks, etc. That's there. If you look behind that, landward side of that, there was an old boat rack that is still there in shambles. Can you get that out of there?
Yep, we could remove that as part of our work.
All right. Sure. Secondly, this whole vista pruning thing scares me a little bit. You're talking the vista from the deck that you want to build or from the house? I mean, it's from the house. He's got a pretty good vista there because it's so high up already. So I'm not quite sure how much vista you're talking about, but it sort of concerns me because there's a pretty good vista corridor right now with a little bit of trimming and pruning of the like you got that little cutout right there and that I guess it's a pine tree of some sort. And removal of the plants on the bank. It's an awfully steep bank. It just scares me that you're going to be pulling and digging. We're going to have some problem with the bank until your vegetation grows. So I'm kind of concerned with how you're going to handle that. It's steep and it's very well vegetated now, heavily vegetated.
Yeah, we have a lot of experience. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, we have a lot of experience working on fairly steep, heavily vegetated banks, especially where you've got a lot of invasive species in there. We take great care to not disturb the soil while we're working here. We're not going to go in and dig every root out or anything like that. That's why we treat with herbicide while we're removing. Everything gets cut down to the ground. Things get winched off of the bank so that there's no machinery on the bank. And then we use erosion netting to make sure that there's no loss of sediment after our work is done. We've done a number of projects just like this, and I can say very confidently that we're not worried about that bank's condition deteriorating as a result of our work.
Thank you, Matt. The other things too, Tom, if you want to show your engineering plan, the engineering plans show a better view corridor than what is showing on the Wilkinson plan.
Yes, I can. There was intended to be the same plan. Let me see, the same view corridor. Hold on. I got to get the plan up here.
What I'm trying to say is it's not the whole area that Wilkinson is trying to do the invasive control. If you look at the engineering plan, there was a narrow strip in the middle lot there, right?
Well, that's the Vista.
Right.
The Vista corridor is the narrow strip.
Right. Because John is concerning about how big is a corridor and trying to, whether your view is from the house or from the deck, to asking for that. That's
exactly, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah. Matt, you want to put yours shows the same thing, doesn't it, for the Vista corridor?
I believe so. I can point that out again here.
Yeah, please.
So our Vista corridor, you can see, is these two lines here going across the property. And
okay.
How steep the bank is here, we're really not talking about doing Vista trimming all the way down the bank. It's just, it cuts off about halfway down the bank. Everything below that is already well below the visible line on that bank.
You're talking of a quarter from the house? Is that what you were looking to gain?
Yes.
Okay, that house is set way back and is set up high. And I didn't walk to the house. I just stood on the deck there. But I don't know what you're going to have to prune back to get an improved vista when you're standing in the house. And you're going to be out there, or somebody from staff would be out there, but that's just a concern I saw.
Yeah, it's like I said.
Looking at the picture, excuse me, the picture you're looking at is from street level, not from the house.
Right. It's really what we're talking about pruning is a single cedar tree, one side of it.
Okay. And on the right-hand side, it looks like you've cut back on that tree, at least for the bottom 10 feet of it or whatever.
That's pre-existing. We're not really proposing to be touching that tree as part of this work.
Picture doesn't look that way. Okay.
Thank you, Matt. Any other question? Oh, Pete.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Chair Lee. So while in the past we have been hesitant about decks right on top of a bank, I think, and or decks and halfway down a stairs, the fact that the staircase deck already exists and that the existing deck at the top of the bank is actually being pulled back, yes, increased in size, but as the applicant's agent mentioned, the control of invasives through Wilkinson, who's got great credibility with us, I think makes up for that mitigation of increased deck size up there. So I'm okay with this, even though, again, in the past, I have at times not been so keen on decks right at the top of the bank. So thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Angela?
Yeah, I just wanted to say basically the same thing. I agree with John, though. It's not the deck or the stairs that they proposed. It is looking like that Vista corridor is already there. it's not really that you need to remove much because everything else is lower than that view that you just showed. It's the vista corridor is already there. You don't need to do a lot of pruning, and you're not removing any trees, correct?
We're not proposing to remove any trees as part of this. Like I said, we're doing a little pruning down at the bottom of the trees that are already dead. The trunk trees would be remaining, though.
Right. And
Angela, your comments are even truer if you step back to the house, which is.
Right. And I did. I walked across, I looked down, I went down. I even looked to the neighbors who's already got one already there. I don't know who did theirs. And it weaves nicely down through all that undisturbed vegetation. I don't always understand why people want to dig up a bank that's got lots of green, lush stuff holding that bank back as it is already. I understand the vista pruning that they may do in the future to keep that corridor, but it doesn't look like it needs much right now. So I'm agreeing with you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But so this would be a standard vista pruning, and they have to meet with the staff before they do any pruning.
Right.
Pete, your hand is up.
His sound.
Any other comment from or question from the commissioner? None. Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to approve these projects with three conditions? One is the standard vista pruning, and then the second one is an ongoing conditions for the invasive management, and then the third one is the annual monitoring report for 3 years.
And I would like the fourth one. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but if you look at where the boat rack is, you look back towards the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just a rotten thing there. I'd like them to get it out of there.
So remove the old boat rack behind behind the boat rack that you marked on the drawings.
Thank you, Tom.
No problem.
Second.
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 Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
The last NOI of the evening is Corey Swaps to reinstall an in-ground pool with associated facility and mitigation planting at 162 Starbuck Lane, Austerville, as shown on the assessors map 166 parcel 106. Mike?
Hello, Chairman Lee. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. For your record, this is Mike Ball from Marsh Matters Environmental. Here representing Corey Schwartz, who is the applicant for this pool project. They're not currently the owners of the property that is owned. The property is currently owned by the estate of Ellen Humphreys Ingram. The Schwartzes are interested in purchasing the property. They would, as part of that purchase, and they would like to install a pool on the riverside of the property.
Mike, can you share the screen?
Yeah, let me share it. Hold on a minute. Can you see that, Tom?
Coming up. Yes.
Okay. So this is the plan that was done by Malin Land Survey. It is depicting a 18 by 36 in-ground pool that is attached to the existing residence, single-family residence. This is a site where we've got riverfront area associated with the Bumps River that extends onto the property and goes landward beyond the existing house. We've got both a state and locally defined coastal bank, which creeps up the slope. You can kind of see the zigzag line. This was these banks were determined by Land Survey, and your local bank does come further landward than the state defined bank. So we've got a 50-foot buffer associated with that local bank, 200-foot riverfront area, and we've got a AE flood zone along that bank. I'm going to just switch to some of the photos here. This is, for those of you who may not have seen the site, this is the back of the residence. I'm trying to show here with this arrow where a low retaining wall would be necessary to bring the land up to grade so they could put a pool in this area. As you can see, the previous owners, or the current owners rather, some time ago had installed a low retaining wall here to level out this area. And so currently the proposed project area is this plateau of lawn plus this sloped area of lawn here. This is another view looking kind of to the north. So project area is entirely in lawn area. It is within the 50-foot buffer to the top of your local bank. As part of this project, Crawford Land Management, who was on this call tonight, has prepared a very nice mitigation planting plan, which should be shown on your screen right now, to fully comply with your Chapter 704(3) performance standards for projects whereby there is no existing vegetated 50-foot buffer to a resource area. So again, we're dealing with an area that's all lawn. This project, while it is in the 50-foot buffer zone, on balance would really improve the resource area itself, that being the bank and the riverfront area, and also improve upon existing conditions in the buffer zone to that bank by the addition of more than 7,000 square feet of both woody and herbaceous plants. I do believe this project does meet your local performance standards. It definitely meets the performance standards for Coastal Bank under the Wetlands Protection Act, and for riverfront area also in the Wetlands Protection Act. Dylan Lance is on the call, as is Nick Crawford. I'm just going to have him speak briefly about proposed mitigation, which does also include invasive species management. Dylan, if you're on, could you please present?
Hi, yes, my name is Dylan Lance with Crawford Land Management. As mentioned, Nick Crawford is also here. We estimate that the required mitigation based on regulations would be about 6,792 square feet. So we are proposing both 7,300 square feet of lawn reduction as well as some additional invasive management in some places that we noticed had some species that we would like to get rid of. A surprising amount of the resource area itself, the coastal bank, is lawn. So this includes the elimination of all that lawn with the exception of a 4-foot wide access path to the water, as well as creating a vegetated buffer where previously there was not one in between the pool and the top of the bank itself. The nice thing with the mitigation area being so large, we can provide diversity of habitats with more biodiversity than we might see in some mitigation areas. So we have trees and shrublands with species including amelanchier, chokeberry, arrowwood viburnum, and clethra, as well as a pollinator meadow area, which includes butterfly weed, bee balm, other native wildflower species, creating a lovely edge habitat and diversity of habitat where previously it was all lawn. That's a brief summary, but Nick and I are around to answer any extra questions you have about the mitigation work.
Dylan, but you mentioned about...
I'm sorry, Tom. I'm just going to add on to Dylan's presentation. I just wanted to show these two photographs, which were part of your notice of intent. This is the lawn area leading down to the edge of the river, just to give you an idea of what the existing condition is in the riverfront area and on the coastal bank itself. And aside from a 4-foot wide soft path, this entire area would be revegetated with woody and herbaceous plants.
Thank you, Mike. Dylan and Mike, with the invasives management, do you want to have an ongoing conditions for the invasive management?
I think that would be a welcome part of the conditions if the project is approved, yes.
Okay, thank you. Angela?
Yeah, just quick. I think it's wonderful how much lawn is going to be changed into vegetation. I'm just curious how you're going to maintain the walk.
The walk in this case we would usually have as a mowed path, so there'd be a seed mix on either side and then just cut short enough for it to be easy to traverse down to the waterfront.
So we'll have some kind of condition of how wide this path will be and the lawnmower going down there?
Okay, yeah, we proposed it as 4 feet on a plan.
Okay, yep, we've done that before. I was just curious. Thank you.
On the plan itself, it does not have a label showing it's a 4-foot path.
It does on the Wilkinson plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
the
we should
mitigation one does, but not the other one.
But we should be showing that on the engineering plan too.
Yeah, we could easily add that to a revision.
Right. Bill?
I think I agree with Angela. It's theoretically a good mitigation plan. It has to stand the test of time and change in ownership and whatnot. And you have a lot of the mitigation in the form of pollinator meadow. And pollinator meadows are so easily mowed, and it could revert back to a lawn in 10, 20 something years. And I guess I would feel more comfortable if there was some kind of demarcation, like a rail fence that was running along the path. You know, you might have an opening or two in it, but I really think you need to kind of have some kind of demarcation of that path so that in the future people don't think, well, we'll just veer off here and mow this part here, because you know, a pollinator garden pollinator meadow is pretty vulnerable to growing back, unlike shrubs and trees and whatnot. So can you put some kind of like little split rail fence, or some kind of I don't want to say a little white picket fence, but you know, some kind of fencing to keep that path where it should be?
I don't have any issue with that, for putting some sort of demarcation on the edge of each path, whether that be a low fence or edging or something of that sort.
Yeah, we have a few types of demarcations that you can check with the staff.
Tom, I'm thinking maybe, I'm looking back to a project on Sandy Neck Road where we used kind of I think they used large boulders or actually in-ground kind of natural looking bollards to kind of define the landward edge of the mitigation area. And I think the applicant would be fine with some kind of demarcation. Ordinarily, I would have made sure that was added to the plan. That's an oversight by me to not have included something on the plan.
Are those, excuse me, would that be bollards or stones or what have you that are running along both sides of the path?
I think so. And I think I take your point. Landscape contractors who might be employed to keep that path mowed kind of do need a physical guidance to keep their 4-foot Bunton mower from destroying a nice pollinator meadow. So I think something that would just be high enough out of the ground to keep a mower from veering off to one side or the other, I think is reasonable.
Do you have any sense as to what the spacing would be on it? I hate to get into the weeds on this, but you know, if you spaced it every 30 feet, it might not be quite so clear where it is. If you had it more in the 6-foot zone, that would, I mean, I don't know whether we have standards. I'm thinking we don't. Maybe that's a question for Ed. The idea of a fence to me would, a very low, attractive little fence just seems like it could be a good alternative anyhow.
Yeah, it's something we haven't discussed with, I'm sorry, Nick, go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, this is Nick Crawford from Crawford Land Management. In the past, we have done a single rail, split rail fence that's about 8 to 12 inches off the ground. If that would be something that you'd be amenable to, I know that we've done on other projects in Barnstable. It's a easy thing to put up because we only need the post every 8 feet or so, and then the rails do the rest.
I would be really enthusiastically in support of that.
Thanks, Bill. John?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little surprised with Bill and Angela leaning towards approving a swimming pool within the 0 to 50 foot zone. It is within the 50, is it not?
It is.
And yet we're approving a swimming pool in that 50. And that sort of bothers me, Bill. Maybe I'm arguing Bill Curran's side of this argument, but especially when I was out there today, the vegetation on the left side left is pretty heavy. I think in fact, it's very heavy all the way down the bank. On the left side of the path, it's already existing there. So I mean, adding more vegetation to that doesn't really do a lot at all. On the right-hand side of the path going down is grass and really does need some significant vegetation. And I'm sitting here saying, you know, is this one of those ones where, you know, the mitigation Bill, I'm surprised you hadn't read that regulation again, you know, about protecting the 0 to 50, but, you know, maybe you feel differently in this specific one, but it caused me some great consternation to say we're going to allow a pool in the 0 to 50, something we usually look at very, very carefully, knowing that, as I said, the left side of the path is already very, very heavily vegetated, so it's only the right side that we're getting. So is this a win for the environment or not? That's what I'm struggling with. I was a little bit surprised that Bill or Angela hadn't brought that up. I was saying.
Bill, can I say something first? It's like the upside down world, John. I totally agree with you that this is normally not the way to go, except I felt when we work from the resource back, from the water back, we're gaining so much more because they had so much lawn there. And this house that's now been bought, you can tell it's totally run off and going to wash away. So I looked at it as it's a gain there. And the actual fact that we can maintain that as a true undisturbed buffer down from the water coming up is how I kind of came to terms with this. But I agree with you that normally I'd be like, no pool. But that's how I did it. I did kind of what you usually do when you see these things and try to weigh up what are we getting for what the cost. Go ahead, Bill. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's kind of a great analysis, Angela, because I think that thought process is exactly what I think is the correct one, in my opinion. And it's one that I was trying to struggle with here, saying, you know, the precedent of allowing a swimming pool in the 0 to 50, are we in fact gaining from an environmental point of view? It was my thought as you looked on the left side of the path that we're not gaining a whole heck of a lot because there's significant vegetation there. But on the right side of the path, there is grass all the way down. So that is a lot of mitigation that would be really spiffy to have. Right. And it's, Bill gets mad at me, but it's that balancing that I was kind of saying, well, maybe this isn't enough of a gain to allow that swimming pool in the 0 to 50.
And they spread the mitigation. They just didn't put it in one corner, how as we have seen before. They did try to fill it really in.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely correct about that.
Can I respond, please?
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, John, we had this very same situation when Angela was new. And I remember taking a site visit with her. And it was over near, it was in Hyannis, down near Keys Beach or whatever, that southern part over near Hyannisport. And there was a very large lawn and they wanted to put in a swimming pool. And you were talking, remember that project? That's very similar.
Angela, I'm sorry.
But let me tell you the difference. Here's the situation. When it comes to protecting the buffer, the 0 to 50, we all agree, oh, it's so important. And then you got the 50 to 100, and it's about filtering. It's about maintaining, preventing pollution and runoff. And we like to see high grass, not lawn. We like to see high grass, bushes, what have you, that are going to take up nutrients. They're going to filter sediment and whatnot. And in this project, the 0 to 100 is essentially undeveloped except for the lawn. And so when we're in this project, as well as that previous project I referred to, we're talking about the top of coastal bank. And the top of coastal bank has its own issues about the stability of that bank. Is this construction going to is it going to destabilize that bank? We don't want that. And so my sense of this is that you're going to get the pollution prevention by maintaining the 0 to 50 and even having a pollinator garden in part of that 0 to 100. And so I think it's different when you're talking about 0 to 100 or 0 to 50 from the wetland versus 0 to 50 from the top of the bank. And then the question becomes, is that a hazard? Is it going to destabilize that bank? And I would say not. And that's the difference. It's about whether it's the bank or whether it's the wetland that we're talking about in the 0 to 50. And that's why I'm okay with this.
And this is Nick Crawford. I just wanted to make one quick point, at least from our point of view, and I think that it seems like the commission's kind of on board with what we're proposing here. But from our point of view, right now you have this area that's lawn, and it's approximately 30 to 50 foot wide, basically all the way down to the water, and we're going to cut that down to a maximum of a 4 foot wide walking path. And not only that, I know there's this emphasis on, and rightfully so, there's an emphasis on the 0 to 50 foot buffer and the 50 to 100 foot buffer. But in my personal opinion, and I believe this is the commission's premise as well, is that there's nothing better to restore than the actual coastal bank itself, the actual resource area versus just the associated buffer zones. And I think that's why this particular project is the way it is, because we've restored the coastal. We're proposing to restore the coastal bank itself, narrowing down this large lawn area to a 4 foot wide walking path, and centralizing all the activity on the property up by the house. Not just now, but for the foreseeable future.
Thank you, Nick. Are we all set with the comments, John and Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None? So let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to receipt of a revised plan showing the 4 foot path and the demarcations on the engineering plan, and the report for 3 years, and then allowing for the invasive management as ongoing conditions?
And showing that it is a railing, a one, what did he say?
A single rail fence.
Yep. If you can put that on that'd be great.
Okay.
So moved.
Anyone second?
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
and Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Nick, and who's the Wilkinson guy?
It was Dylan from Crawford.
Dylan, yes.
Crawford.
Wilkinson.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Channel 18, can we take a break until 8:10?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me know when you're back. Thanks.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Hello, Channel 18.
Yeah, you all set?
Let me check. Bill, Angela is here. Jeff is here. Is Pete here?
I'm here.
Okay. Yes, we can start.
All right, good to go. Thanks.
Thank you. We have 3 continuances tonight. The first one is 48 Starbuck LLC to replace existing pier and boathouse with proposed additions of a ramp and float at 48 Starbuck Lane, Osterville, as shown on the Assessors Map 185 Parcel 001. This is a continuance from September the 2nd. The quorum is every commissioner. And there is a revised plan date, September the 10th, showing a different alignment or the orientation of the pier extensions. John.
Yes, good evening. John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the applicants. I will pull up that revised plan for you all. This project site is 48 Starboard Lane. It's about a 2.5 acre parcel. The upland is currently under development with a new single-family dwelling and pool under a valid order of conditions. There is an existing pier and boathouse on the property. An order of conditions was granted for that what was existing structure at the time to be maintained under SC 31580. As far as we can tell, it's been there since at least the 1950s. The project as proposed is to replace those existing structures within their existing footprint. They would be raised up about 18 inches, and the existing pier would be widened from 2.5 feet to 4 feet, kind of consistent with today's standards. The cross section does call for that to be changed to graded material over the salt marsh, which should represent an improvement. We are proposing a ramp and float off of that structure. It had been originally proposed as extending perpendicular to the shoreline. Prior to our last meeting, this was continued without any testimony. Some concerns were expressed by abutters about that extending out, and it was suggested that we consider rotating the ramp and float to be parallel with shore. We collected some additional soundings in that area and found no significantly less amount of water. So we did revise that plan accordingly. We still have over a foot under that area around the float. This is for non-motorized. Float stops are proposed. We have been to the Shellfish Committee, and they had no comments. And we've been to Waterways, and they had no objections to this revised plan. I think with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And we also asking Tom biologist from Elizabeth, and she has no further comment from the previous one. So, question from the commissioner, Bill.
Yeah, do we have anything in writing from the harbor master / waterways saying that they don't have a problem?
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Okay. And the abutters, I understand, are in favor of this change. So I guess I right now don't have a problem.
Thank you, Bill. Any other question? Oh, Angela?
No, just a comment. The revised plan, I think, addressed all the issues we had whenever we continued this from. And we did get Waterways approval, but Shellfish was not really happy with it. That's how I would like it remembered, but they're not going to do anything to stop it. That's all. I just wanted to say that. So, yeah, I think we're at a good point with the revision and ready to move forward on it.
Yes, the main things, too, is that this is a non-motorized pier. So
correct.
Okay. Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None? Could I have a motion to approve this project with the revised plan date September the 10th?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abedili.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Pashulik.
Muted.
Jeff, you muted.
Jeff, can you hear me?
Yes, thumbs up.
I'm sorry. Lee?
Yes.
Sampu?
Aye.
Tangney, aye. Jeff, you on now?
He's still muted.
He's stuck on mute.
Yeah.
Good.
Good. Got it.
Sorry,
Gotcha.
sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Gotcha.
No problem. Thank you. Good luck, John.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yep. The next continuance is Town of Barnstable Department of Public Works, constructions of a new sewage pump stations with precast concrete structures, control panel, standby generator, and approximately 580 feet of 4-inch force main. Site work including utility connections, sidewalk, and paved improvements, and temporary dewatering during below-grade constructions with treated groundwater discharged to N. Betty's Pond at 45 Mitchell's Way, map 308, parcel 273-002 and 268 Stevens Street, INS maps 308, parcel 017. This is a continuance from September the 23rd. The quorum is every commissioner, and DBW has provided the additional informations and sent to the commissioner. And previously, we have at least 10 emails regarding to the public comment. And the last couple of days, we also received comment from John Richmond and Eric Schrops. So let me go to Griffin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Griffin Bowden, town engineer here at the Barnstable Department of Public Works. As you noted, Mr. Chair, we received a number of questions from the commission after last hearing, and we have submitted responses to those questions. We're happy to have further discussion on any of the responses to those questions or any other topics of discussion this evening. I am joined here with Ziad Carey from Apex Engineering, who's a design engineer for the project, as well as Callie Thompson, who is the wetland scientist from Apex.
Griffin, do you want to go through those additional informations?
We'd be happy to. Ziad, I know you have some slides that have the questions on them, so why don't you pull them up and maybe describe the responses?
Yes, good evening. Allow me to share my screen here.
Yep. It didn't come through. Yeah, it's coming.
Think it's working on it now? Can you see it?
Not yet.
There it is.
It's up now.
Yeah, we can see it now.
All right. So basically, we populated the questions that you had in this PowerPoint presentation and put the exhibits here. I could roll through it. This is the attachment A for the wetland delineation at 45 Mitchell's Way. And then we provided a summary of the alternative analyses, and they're shown on the second slide up here. And then this is the figure also was requested, and then the questions following up here. So we have a total of about 15 slides with all the questions that we provided the answers to the commission. So where would you like to start with the delineation?
I think that's a graphic thing. I think you can skip that because you just submitted that stem, and I think we are fine with that.
Okay. Any questions on an alternative analyses?
No.
No.
Okay, so the questions. So this is the first question that just came up. Assuming that discharged water will have the same level PFAS and the Aunt Betty's Pond also has the same level. Will the impact of discharging increase potential harm the abutters? So basically, the the thought process we have here, this is the same water body, basically. It's cycling water from the excavation or the site of the pumping station. You just put it back into Aunt Betty's pond. So if they both have the same characteristics, that really shouldn't impact anything in terms of PFAS, one way or the other, up or down for that matter. Questions? So should I just keep going here?
Let's keep going.
Okay. So the second question, why was this location chosen for the pump station? Is there a reasonable alternative? I think we mentioned that the previous hearing. Technically, when you site a pump station, it has to be at a low point along the sewer alignment, and it has to be located at a town-owned property or town parcel. And basically, this is where the siting of the pump station was decided. Also, there was some, so this project was, there was a grant for this project and from the Housing Assistance Corporation, and part of the requirements was to be able to site that station at that location by at a town-owned parcel. Question was, will the amount of water needed to be discharged lessen as the depth of the hole decreases? And the short answer to that, yes. Actually, if you're pumping from a 25-foot deep hole, and as you go up and you backfill, that water, the flow decreases drastically. And as you saw last time, from 3 wells pumping approximately 900 gallons per minute, which is equivalent to about 1 million gallons per day from the 3 wells. And as the excavation gets shallower, that number goes down to, the number of pumps needed to dewater the excavation drastically get reduced from 3 to 2 to 1 by the time we put the valve vault. Did we get any guidance from SDP? So we contacted SDP. There's no true guidance on dewatering from an excavation. The only standards that apply for drinking water at this stage, virtually across all of Massachusetts, all infrastructure projects, whether it's a pump stations, piping, coastal or non-coastal, it's the same technique that's been used across. You do the supportive excavation, you pump water to get to your lowest point of the excavation, and you pump that dewatering volume into a frac tank, sedimentation basin, and it goes into surface discharge. This is every project we've been associated with, every consultant I talked to. There's no regulatory requirement for discharge of groundwater. Question here came up, will the DPW use a metal or vinyl sleeve in a manner similar to a cofferdam when excavating and pumping water from a vertical shaft? If not, why is this not a viable option? So basically what the contractor was using at 268 is a cofferdam-like structure. So they had sheeting extending down to 40 feet below grade. The sheeting itself is a method to cut off groundwater from coming in. However, when you dig down deeper, there's no confined layer to hold that water down from coming from the bottom of the excavation, and therefore the bottom needs to be stable. And pumping would need to be required in any event. What was the proposed work schedule? 5 days a week, 8 or 10-hour shift for the pump house project. If only 5 days a week or less, then about 10 hours per day can the work week and work day be extended. So obviously the pumping is a 24/7 operation to be able to dewater the hole and then get down to the bottom of the excavation to reach subgrade. What we did talk with the contractor, I'm sure they'd be willing to work that extra day when the subgrade is stable and they're ready to set the structures in place. In terms of pumping, there's really no real gain by extending the hours you're already pumping 24/7. So the contractor may be open to, when the time comes to set the structures, the wet well, the valve vault, or the manhole, they work the extra hours to get it done on time. Not to mention that the project is way behind schedule, and I'm sure they're looking at every opportunity to see if they could catch up. So the next question, what is the estimated percentage of settled or sediment-free pumped water that will be discharged into the ground via the sedimentation basin? If not 100%, what is the percentage of that water is likely to spill out and then over the top of the sedimentation basin with resulting overflow over the vegetated buffer? As we showed on the previous presentation on the 23rd, basically the water comes out of the ground via manifold from the 3 dewatering wells and discharges into a frac tank. And the idea is for the frac tank is to have the water settle from any sediments or any particles or any suspended particles in there. And then from there, it goes into a secondary containment area, which is a silt sack, and then surrounded by hay bales. And from there, it goes over the vegetated buffer into Aunt Betty's Pond. So some of that water actually does go into the ground, but the majority of it is a surface water that goes through the vegetated buffer into Aunt Betty's Pond.
Can I ask a question on that, please?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. 900 gallons per minute is about 2 cubic foot a second, which is a goodly flow. It's not a huge flow, but it's a small stream. And as it goes over the vegetated buffer, I can well imagine that can be a benign discharge. However, as it says, to provide added protection, an additional layer of erosion control barriers will be installed. I just wondered, what is the nature of those additional erosion control barriers? And knowing how water can find its way and channel and scour and whatnot, are there provisions to monitor that overland flow over that vegetated buffer to ensure that you will not have scour? How are you ensuring that you won't have scour, that somehow the flow, it just came down through this crack and now you've actually got a stream and it's starting to scour? Do you follow me? What?
Yes, 100%. And it's obviously it's a lot of water. When you're pumping a little over 1 million gallons per day, that is a lot of water. The frac tank slows it down a little bit. The sedimentation, if I could find the previous presentation up here. There it is. Bear with me 1 second. So you could see, so this is the frac tank where the water goes in, and then there is some settling period. The good news here is the pump, or the pumps are located at excavation. So the water quality coming out of the hole is relatively clean. There's really no sediments present in that water. So you could see it coming from the frac tank through the 2 PVC pipes into the silt sack. And then you could see the hay bale surrounding this. And this is in action, by the way. So the water is coming right through. Yes, some of it is percolating right through, but there's no stream coming off that secondary sedimentation barrier. So in other words, the water is flowing in a laminar flow, not so much in a turbulent flow out of the silt sack. This was watched on a regular basis we have an on-site representative that's overseeing construction along with the construction crews. So to my knowledge, there was no evidence of scour downstream from the sedimentation basin. And simply because, primarily because the bag is silt-free, that goes to show you the quality of water coming out of the hole is pretty neat and pretty clean. So,
if I could follow up, clean water can scour. Just very clean water, you can create scour in the ground. create a channel through the dirt that's on that vegetated buffer, which then ends up in the pond. And so I think you can manage it in a way where you will not get that scour. Granted, it's clean water, but it will still potentially erode the bank. And so you said you have someone on staff, like an environmental compliance monitor who would be there, and that person would be there daily. Is that correct?
We have a construction oversight, a resident representative that overseeing construction, making sure that things are done according to plan and specification. We also offered to add another layer of filter fabric downstream from this secondary containment to minimize impact, if there is any impact, to the downstream vegetated buffer. You know, I have, like I said, I have no evidence, looking at daily reports and talking to our folks out in the field, I have no evidence there was some scour, any scour that took place as a result of this discharge from the sedimentation from the silt sack.
Okay, thank you. As long as I think that as a Conservation Commission, we should be sure that this will be adequate. I think it can be managed, but I can just imagine if you weren't careful, you could potentially have scour. That's all. And you're saying you're going to monitor that, and to the extent that we have a condition where it's being adequately monitored for scour, I'm good with it. Thank you.
If I may, just in response to that, the intent of committing to a second set of barriers was to provide a second BMP to potentially prevent any additional scour that may occur. So we didn't see any the last time around, but if you know, if there was one, we wanted to have that second BMP in place such that it would prevent that. So that was the intent of adding that safeguard.
Very good.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, definitely we'll keep an eye on this, and then we'll prioritize it for sure.
Okay.
So the next question, where exactly is the C5 monitoring? Please show on the monitoring plan. So I think we were able to just find something online. I could share this. I think this is the approximate location of C5, the monitoring plan.
So I actually had a conversation with Tom Cambereri. I'm not sure if he's on the call this evening, but the C5 well location is a well that Tom installed in the 1980s as part of his monitoring programs that he's done over the years for groundwater. It's a monitoring well, and it's located in the right-of-way of Mitchell's Way. It's on the north side of Mitchell's Way to the west of the creek. So it's in close proximity to the project site, and so I think that's why he utilized that as representative to view what the drawdown was during and the response after the pumping was completed. So,
if I could comment, you have a monitoring well, monitoring well number 1. I haven't looked at it since our last meeting, but it's very close to where C5 was. Is that not correct?
You are correct. Let me see if I could bring this up again.
Yeah,
so yes, this one here is close.
Very close.
I think, yeah, the thought process is, you know, part of the monitoring plan by the contractor when work resumes. If we have 4 locations, if one needs to be added, I think they're amenable to that too.
Yeah, but that one's, the C5 is right near your number 1.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
No, I just want to have that C5 showing up on this monitoring plan. That's fine. Okay, go ahead.
So there was a question related to Finney's Lane and the 720 Main Street pump station, Hyannis, and their proximity to wetland. Was there a similar sediment tank and basin used at those sites? Did the pump discharge of those sites overflow from the sedimentation basin, or was all water infiltrated within those basins? So I could speak to 725 Main Street. That was a project that I was involved with. So 720 is a much bigger site that's adjacent to wetland, and the excavation was much more involved. The depth of the excavation, the extent of the excavation, and then the duration of the project. The 720 was a pump station that was made primarily of cast-in-place concrete, whereas at 268, we're looking to implement precast structures. The precast structures are ready to go when the excavation reaches bottom. It's just a matter of putting the structure in place. 720, the contractor dewatered for a long time, and the dewatering out of 720 was coming off into a frac tank, secondary containment, similar to what was shown here at 268. And ultimately, it was going into the drainage system along Main Street because there's an outlet there. Finney's Lane, I'm not sure, Griffin, if you have information on Finney's Lane.
Sure, we included it in the response. It was a little different at Finney's Lane in that there was a natural depression to the north of the project site that was large enough to accommodate the groundwater that was pumped from the excavation, which was substantial as well. But there was not a drainage system that we discharged into, nor surface water in the area. So there was a natural depression to the north of the site that the water went into and naturally percolated into the ground.
Thanks, Griffin.
Okay, so the next question, what happens if you pump at 900 gallons a minute for the first week and don't achieve the desired groundwater level? So the short answer to that, when the contractor installed the 3 pumps and they were pumping by the fourth or fifth day, they were able to reach approximately bottom of the excavation before the work was stopped. So since then, the water rebounded. As a matter of fact, we measured it on the 23rd, and we measured it again today in relation to the seasonal high groundwater table. So back in May 2024, when we did the subsurface exploration in May, the groundwater was 4 feet below grade. On the 23rd of September, this last month, the water had rebounded to 5 foot 10 feet below grade. Today was approximately the same thing, about 5 foot 10 below grade as well. So when work resumes, the contractor will employ the same techniques with the 3 pumps and the 3 wells to draw down that water. And we feel that the drawdown or achieving bottom will take approximately the same amount of time as it did back in July. The next question, would it be possible to discharge part of the water to the existing storm drain in the vicinity? And the existing storm drain in the vicinity consists of closed conduit. There's no outlet for this. As I mentioned early on, at 720, we're able to discharge into the drainage system because it has an outlet going out. And unfortunately, in this situation, it cannot be because it just has limited volume and it doesn't really have a place to go. And then the other part to that would be, we said if the system was utilized, it would be overwhelmed and the water would overflow onto the roadway, creating a safety issue to motorists and picking up sediments from the roadway before ultimately flowing on Betty's Pond. So I guess the short answer to that is we cannot really discharge into the existing storm drain. That was the last question.
Thank you. Griffin, do you have any follow-up before I go to the commissioner?
I do not. I think Ziad characterized our response as well. So no, I do not have any follow-up.
Thank you, Griffin. So let me answer a couple of questions from the public comments. The first one is for Eric. I have received your comment this morning, and I spent the whole day talking with the town legal as well as the state ethics commissions. And the recommendation is ask me to file a disclosure form to the town council, which I did, and I filed with the town clerk also as well before I come to this meeting. So that's my whole day, because thank you for Eric's email. And the second email is from I think is from the housing, the Rob Brennan, and sent an email asking whether this is a not outside the scope of the Wetland Protection Act, exempted from the Wetland Protection Act. I kind of disagree with that because the watering activity is, but the discharge to the wetland and buffer is, I think, within our jurisdictions. So I just want to flow it out there. And if any commissioner want to disagree with that, just let me know. That's my assessment.
If I could jump in there, I think that's extra true if you look at the application of the ordinance as well as the Town of Barnstable's ordinance. It's clearly within our jurisdiction as I read it.
Thank you, John. Any other question from the commissioner? Angela?
No, just a clarification. So what you're saying is the pump station is out of our jurisdiction. Just this dewatering part fell under ours. Is that what you guys had just said?
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to reword it so I understood it. I do have one question on the monitoring. Did we decide this was a 2-year growing season monitoring, or did we not get to that yet? I just don't remember in my notes.
I don't think we get there yet.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I don't mean to go ahead. Thank you.
Because that's part of the special conditions that we want to put it on, and we just want to go through the comment, from the commissioner, and then we have to go for the public comment, and then we'll come back to the special conditions.
Okay. Thank you.
Are we all set because the commissioner?
Yeah.
Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
If anyone has something they'd like to say or a question they have, please raise your virtual hand.
I'm trying to raise my hand.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure where do I go to do it.
Well, you'll be first up. So Larry.
Okay. Do you want me to put my hand up or just go ahead?
Just go ahead.
All right. I'm going to try to clarify some of Griffin's matters before I go further. Look at my notes here. The concept under the 11th issues I noted at Griffin dealt with the existing storm drain, but was there anything in the plan, and I was not able to copy the plan, read the plan at all. Was there anything in the plan as to whether or not there was a restoration portion of your proposal for returning the water that was drained from the stream below the existing site?
No, Larry, for the public comment, please just give us a comment. Don't asking any questions.
No, I have a right to ask the question. I have a right to ask the question. Saying no, I'm going to have the town council president say otherwise.
Okay.
Griffin, you want to I'm going to ask questions, Tom. You get away with it too much. I'm asking questions.
No.
Go ahead, Griffin.
No, just provide the comments, okay, please.
Well, the comments are pretty obvious. That everything you, Tom, have found a way to avoid the request for an enforcement order. In the process of doing that, you allowed the whole manner by which the project of draining the stream was completely done without any application, without anything done. Now, in this particular regard, my understanding is that there are only two people that looked into this. One was Rob Steen, and the other was Ed Hoops. In the process of doing that, I don't know of anybody else who made the decision. If the decision was made by Ed, I want to know about it. If the decision was made by Rob, he's already admitted no. So in this particular case, you completely ignored the manner in which the neighbors were treated, the manner in which the whole process commenced. The water was drained, and down at the bottom near where the stream was, I walked down in there. It's like a huge sponge. The whole thing is sogging wet, all the way up into the woods where the building's supposed to be built. There's no program or plan for the restoration of the water that was drained. There has to be a restoration. If there isn't, then we have to go after that. And you can call that whatever you want, but you have a manner of finding ways of trying to exclude factors that which should be included. You try to limit everything. This particular NOI deals with the sewer system, the sewer project, but the sewer project would never have gone anywhere had there not been a draining of the water in that stream. And I'm gonna pursue that further. I think the whole manner in which it's been handled is unsatisfactory.
Thank you, Larry. Like I said last time in the hearing, is this matter came in front of Ed and myself, and we look at it and we allowed that temporary dewatering projects for that.
So you're the one that allowed it also. You, along with Ed, allowed it. But no hearing, no notification to anybody, no sign off, nothing. Is that right? That was yes or no, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, we got you on record.
Yep. Thank you.
And it was subsequently stopped.
Who's next? Eric?
Thank you, Chairman Lee. I appreciate the time. I appreciate that you're considering the recusal. That was very kind of you. Are you denying the request for an enforcement order?
I don't think there is a space for any enforcement order in this case.
So you're going on record, you're denying the request for enforcement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Tom Camilleri sends his regards. He's unfortunately not able to join us. He asked me to make some comments regarding monitoring. Some of you appear not to know who Tom is. Tom was formerly the chief hydrologist for the Cape Cod Commission for a number of years and is considered to be the preeminent hydrologist in the town of Barnstable. He did his graduate work in this area, the C5 well. He's been monitoring for over 40 years. He's familiar with the water table, and he is an expert on PFAS pollution in our town. He has received several grants from the state to assist the Hyannis Civic Association with understanding the full impact of PFAS on our community, including pretty high levels of PFAS in the bloodstreams of multiple Hyannis counselors. So what he's asking is that before you start pumping, that we establish a baseline. So he wants to test, he wants a licensed site professional to test the water in the well pumps, in C5, and in Aunt Betty's Pond. This speaks directly to Mr. Carey's assumption that all the water is the same. It's not. PFAS in particular varies based on the depth of the water. So the pond has a certain depth. Your wells, Mr. Carey, have a certain depth. So we expect the PFAS levels to be different, okay? Also, because of the manner in which you're pumping, you're in effect creating a point source, okay? So in order to understand that point source better, we respectfully request that you test from these three areas, C5, the pumps, and the pond, okay? That you give those samples to a licensed site professional, you let them evaluate the level of PFAS and whether or not you have created a point source before you then begin the weeks of pumping. So we respectfully request that you include that in your conditions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next. Channel 18, who's next?
I'm not seeing anyone else with their hand raised. If you do have a public comment, you want to unmute or raise your hand. Angela Retzik, if you could unmute for us.
Hi. Hello. Thank you for all your information that you gave us tonight. My concern is that we am I on mute?
No, you're speaking. We can hear you.
I thought you said something. I'm sorry. I'm co-president of Save Twin Brooks, and we sent over a letter to you. And we also, at the last meeting, had 5 questions that we wanted answered. And I think that maybe one of them was answered. So why weren't those questions answered? We asked if Aunt Betty's Pond was located in a flood zone. We asked if it was the headwater of Stewart's Creek. I think you may have answered, will continue dewatering increase overflow from the pond into the drainage system as occurred in July and August. We asked what happens to the wildlife upstream, particularly near 32 Pleasant Hill Lane. And then I'm not sure if you answered this one. Can the pumped water be retained and recharged into nearby wetlands instead of being lost? That was a key question to us. You know, our wetlands, wildlife, and water supply cannot be protected with half measures and vague assurances. You have legal and moral obligations to ensure full compliance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protectors Act. So if you can please answer those questions for us, we would greatly appreciate it.
I think one of your questions was answered as part of the DPW.
Yes, one was, yes, only one.
No, there's another one that that did not went through. Is the mapping for that area is 0.2% annual chance of the flooding. That's almost like a 1 to 200 years flooding. So
the question was, is Aunt Betty's Pond located in the flood zone? So are you saying that it is?
It is at 0.2%, which is 1 to 200 years.
And Tom, could I just answer her as well?
Sure.
Sometimes when the questions are thrown at us a lot quickly, I thought some of the questions you brought up last time were rhetorical questions. In other words, you were trying to make a point during public comment. You didn't know that, you didn't say to list them. So I apologize if there was a confusion, okay. But often the questions thrown at us are used that way in prompting a discussion or one of you from public trying to make a point. Not all of them are valid for our purview. So I apologize if you don't feel your questions were answered, but we all did receive your letter and we did read it, but I felt some of them were just rhetorical questions. I hope that helps answer your question.
That is great. I appreciate that. I think the big question was, can the pumped water be retained and recharged into nearby wetlands instead of just losing it?
Well, I don't know whether Griffin want to answer these questions because it's a huge volume that you're dealing with, and it would be very difficult to my mind. But
right, we didn't identify a viable option. We did include an alternatives analysis in our responses that evaluated what we viewed were the potential viable options in the area. There is not an area large enough to be able to infiltrate the water into the ground. In fact, that's part of the reason why we have to do this in order to install the infrastructure, because the groundwater is very shallow. And when you have shallow groundwater, it makes it much more difficult to infiltrate water into the ground. So we are returning it to a wetland system. It happens to be down gradient from the site. But we did not identify a viable infiltration location in the area.
And if I may, it is also in the same watershed for the local Stewart's Creek drainage and in a connected system immediate adjacent to the site. So given that the impacts on the drawdown are temporary.
Who's speaking?
I'm sorry, this is Callie Thompson with Apex.
Thank you.
Just one more thing. John Abadili and Tom Cambereri have said that the PFAS levels at Betty's Pond and Hyannis Creek should be reviewed by a licensed professional. That analysis is missing from the NOI. I think it's really important that we have the soil tested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next property comment on this one, channel 18.
Yeah, Lisa Deleuze, if you'd like to unmute.
Lisa? Last time you tried to make a public comment but did not go through. Lisa?
She was trying to unmute earlier.
Doesn't show she's muted, but oh yeah, she is. She's just unmuted.
Lisa?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can do it. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. This is Jeff Deleuze. I can't get in on mine, so I'm using my sisters to make my comment.
Fine. Go ahead.
Okay. I've been watching this whole situation down there since it started. Now, this idea about returning the water on the area of Mitchell Way where the big giant tank is, talking about the scouring the land and everything, I took extensive pictures of all that water running free, throwing right through the bushes, through the trees, through the trash, into the stream, not the pond. So much water built up, it backed up the stream under Mitchell Way and up into the stream because there was so much water. So I don't know what that was talking about. Now, as far as the area that it's at, it's sitting right in the middle of a aquifer system where you have the pump, correct? Hello?
Yes.
And where they have that pump, I was down there, and where they pumped it out, that all that water that they're sucking out of there is pulling from the pond that's located behind the skating rink, which is, I believe it's Crooks Pond. And Crooks Pond is connected to Hyannis Creek, which is the wetland on 32 Pleasant Hill Lane, which runs all the way down right underneath the 90 Mitchell Way.
Behind our house.
Behind our house, right here on 32 Pleasant Lane. And now there's absolutely not a drop of water in there. Now, they said at one time when they were pumping, they were going to do secondary or every 2 hour, 3 hour site inspections on the water. If it dropped down several inches here or several inches there, then they would immediately stop the pumping. We lost 3 feet of water in an area at about 30, 40 yards wide by about 70 yards long. And all that water is gone, sucked right out through the pump station that's located right there on 268 Stevens Street, which, by the way, was pumped illegally using a false DEP sign. There was no permit to do this, and they did it anyways until you got caught. And now they want to reestablish this and do it again, and then take what water's left. This whole thing is a horrible idea,
unfair,
and it's wrong. And the worst thing about it is right where that pump station is, right behind it to the north, right in the middle of that parking lot was the old Stewie Bornstein car dealership.
Can we stay on the project in front of us, please?
Yeah, well, that's part of the project. That whole area where you have that pump.
No, it's not.
The pump.
Tom, as chair, we need to limit to 3 minutes.
Oh,
and to stay in terms of what we regulate. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to have my few minutes. And as he was saying, that land right there that was Stewie's, flooded, was always underwater. The building came down, a guy got hurt, and nobody should have ever built there. Y'all was swindled into doing it, and now we're paying the price. The wild animals, the wildlife is paying the price. Things up here are dying because it has no water. And it's completely wrong, immoral, and this thing that people got to get money while you run over other people is sad. Shame, shame.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comment?
You.
Roberta, if you'd like to unmute.
Thank you very much, because I can't, for some reason tonight, I don't have a hand. I've looked for Roberta Mock, 80 Greenwood. I'm on Joshua's Creek on Greenwood Ave. What I'm seeing here with my experience in the past and now is that we're very meticulous when it's carefully, when it's a resident that is trying to get approval. But when the town needs to go through the same process, it's corrupt that the town, what they did, they're not admitting it, but they just took the ball and ran with it. And we're not happy about that, because we're held to a different standard than the town is. And that's wrong. That is corrupt. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Paul? Ooh.
Paul, did you have a comment? No, I don't have anyone else on my list, but if anyone would like.
No, thank you. This is Paul. No, thank you.
All right.
Can I offer a follow-up comment, Chairman Lee? Just briefly.
Who?
This is Eric Schwab. Just briefly.
Okay.
I've been following you guys for 25 years. First time I moved here, I turned on the TV set, Channel 18, and just watched as I tried to understand this community better. And I've noticed that if you're talking about Cotuit or Osterville or Centerville, there's tremendous concern about every little detail. When the town wants to do something in Hyannis, they roll right over us. So we're asking you to please stop rolling over us. We have significant concerns about PFAS, which Dr. Carey did not address. We do not believe that your wildlife expert is sufficiently up to speed on the area. I'm sure she's tremendously qualified, but she just does not know the area. So we want a qualified professional opinion regarding the resumption of the pumping. We want a third party. We don't have confidence in the contractor. We don't have confidence in the DPW. We want a licensed site professional to evaluate the PFAS. We want to understand whether or not you're creating a point source. These are reasonable requests from the residents of the area that we respectfully ask you to honor. Thank you very much for the additional time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any response from, well, actually, are we all set with the public comment, Channel 18?
Yes.
So there is a few conditions that I want to flow out there and see what the commissioner think, or whether do you want to add anything more to it.
Quick question, Tom.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does the DPW and their agents want to respond to any of the comments that were made by the public?
Griffin?
Not at this time. I'll wait to hear if there's any follow-ups from any of the commissioners.
I would like to make some comments, Tom, before you propose a motion.
Yep. Hi, John. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Schwab, I probably predate even when you were starting to look in terms of service on the commission. It's been an honor to do that for the town and the citizens of Barnstable. There was an accusation that, or a statement, there was a statement that says when the town comes before us, we treat the town differently than an individual, a resident. I don't think that that's true, except to the extent that if the proposed project contains something that is a public benefit, the commission has given extra credibility to that. So, and I think that's a reasonable position. I think it was Pete last time that mentioned, the whole purpose of this project is to install a source, which we in the town of Barnstable absolutely desperately need. It is probably the single most important thing we can do for the town of Barnstable and for Cape Cod. And it kills me when we look at a 30 or 40-year plan to do it, but I'll put that aside. At least this is one step. So I look at this as commission and say, okay, what the town is asking for in this is in fact, in the long term, for the good of the environment and the citizens of Barnstable. That is different than a private homeowner where they want to do something that is specific to them and doesn't have the, quote, public good of some of the applications that have come before us. So to that extent, there may well be a different standard, but nevertheless, it is our legal obligation to say, can this project be approved with conditions that will protect the environment, the resources that we are legally obligated to protect? That is the standard of review. And whether it's the town or whether it's the citizen, that's the same standard. Can we, in fact, condition this to protect the resource? And the resource for us is the wetlands, not where they're going to put the pump, but the wetlands. We have no jurisdiction over the location of the pump. That's the first comment I'd like to make. second thing that I would like to ask is that the town, the applicant, their reaction if we imposed a condition requiring periodic PFAS testing. I'd like to get an answer to that question, Tom, from them. A minor point that I would also ask, if this project was approved, one of the things I noticed walking that land is that apparently a lot of homeless people have used that. There's a lot of garbage sitting there. It would kill me to see that garbage, pumped into Betty's Pond or anywhere else. So I would impose a condition that the town has to clean that up if this was otherwise approved. So let me go back to the question of PFAS. Is PFAS monitoring a reasonable condition?
You want to get an answer from Griffin?
Yes. Before you go into what you're going to say, Tom. Yeah.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I can address both of those comments, both of those questions, and thank you for that. Thank you for that, John. I appreciate that. The second question, it's actually something we've talked about internally. I couldn't agree with you more. There is some trash on the site, and I think it would be completely reasonable for the site to be cleaned up prior to any discharging onto the site. Now, we didn't see the trash be suspended previously, and we didn't observe that as a problem, but I think that's a completely reasonable request, that if there's trash on the site prior to this activity starting, we should absolutely clean that up. So not a problem there. Relative to the PFAS testing, if the commission decides to impose PFAS testing as a condition of the project, certainly we would have to comply with that condition, correct? Right? There are some logistics to that need to be considered, and it's really surrounding the testing of PFAS. There is a time that it takes to get those samples sent to a lab and have them actually process the samples. I have not recently sent out PFAS samples, so I'm not sure what the latest turnaround time is, but certainly we would need to understand that in order to commit to a duration or a frequency. But we would obviously comply with any condition that was imposed. Thank you.
Great, thank you for those answers. Tom, you started to say something and I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I was, make your comment and then I can start, flowing out my special conditions for this particular applications. Are you all set? So let me read you and then you can make, the commissioner can make any comment on this one. Number one is the baseline monitoring should start at least 1 week before the dewatering to begin. The baseline monitoring would including the turbidity and the temperature at the discharge site and at least once daily. And, with the PFAS, we should also monitoring from the C5, the pump effluent and the downstreams from that locations. I would say at least maybe once a week, depending on the frequency. That's the only thing I can think of at this point. Just follow it out there. Second, the dewatering pumping rate up to 900 gallons per minute should be monitored at least 3 times per day during the dewatering process. If additional dewatering pumping rate of more than 900 gallons per minute is needed, it should come back to the Conservation Commission for further approval. Third, at all monitoring locations, water levels shall be recorded twice per day, at least 6 hours difference between the readings during the dewatering process. For monitoring location number 1, if the water level drops 4 inches below the baseline, 2 more monitoring data points will be collected per day. There shall be 4 monitoring data points per day. If the water level drops to 7 inches from the baseline, the dewatering process will be shut off immediately and notify the conservation administrator. For the monitoring location 2 and 3, if the water level rises less than 4 inches, there will be 2 monitoring data per day, at least 6 hours difference between the readings. If the water level rises more than 4 inches, there should be at least 4 monitoring data points per day. If the water level reaches to the top of the culvert, the dewatering process will be shut off immediately and notify the conservation administrator. For the monitoring location number 4, 2 monitoring data points per day during the dewatering process. If the water level reaches 2 feet from the white post horizontally next to the parking lot, the dewatering process should be shut off and notify the conservation administrator. The next one is the town and the contractor and the administrator shall do a sidewalk before the dewatering begin, and after the dewatering process is completed, there is to determine any damage to the wetland resource area. If it has occurred, then the contractor or the town will be responsible for the repair of the damage to the wetland buffer areas. I think that's all I have, but that's best. Ed, is there anything else that we should add?
No, I think you got them. Then we'll also do standard conditions as well that usually come along with any project. So,
Tom, I'd like to add, Tom's already agreed to do this, that the area will be cleaned up of debris prior to the pumping.
Yes, I forgot that. Yes.
You did cover the PFAS testing, I think.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other comment from the commissioner?
Angela.
Yeah, so the existing site characteristics will be restored is what I heard you say.
Yep.
Point source sites for being tested, I heard them requesting C5 pump station itself and Aunt Betty's Pond. Are those included in what we're talking about?
Yes.
Those already include, okay, that's what I thought. I'm just double checking. And then after the dewatering, what would the monitoring period be for? In other words, when this project is over, how far would we monitor 2 growing seasons to make sure this is better? I'm just asking, is there a monitoring system for after the event? Do we need one? Maybe we don't. I'm just asking.
Ed, what do you think?
I would suggest that yes, there should be one for 1 to 2 years, like immediately following for the first month or two. You should continue to do weekly monitoring of the water levels, and then I think monthly thereafter would be sufficient just to monitor water levels in general. So,
because the whole idea of a limited project is this will go back to the way it was, and we need to give it time. So I'm asking, will we have data to show that this goes back to what it was before this project was put in? So I was asking if that is in the order of conditions. Thank you.
So maybe a 1 year later kind of thing, Angela?
Right. Anything, whatever Ed thinks, the staff thinks that you guys decide on, but I want to make sure that that's included.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right, immediately right after dewatering, like Ed said, they should monitoring in terms of the water level, for on a weekly basis until maybe a few months later, and then you can increase the frequency.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Griffin, go ahead.
So we expect to see the groundwater response relatively quickly here, not over a duration of time like years, like was just stated. We're happy to continue monitoring the monitoring locations. I just want to flag that what you're going to see is effectively a regional groundwater fluctuations at that time after we've documented the response. So
no, that's not what I'm talking about. I was talking about once you've achieved being back to the existing site
level,
then it's fine. That's fine, right?
Then I would cut it off at that point.
Yeah,
exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, could I make a comment?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd just like to back up what Griffin said. Tom Cambereri, his well data basically showed that after they stopped pumping in July or whatever it was, he said it took, I want to say, a month before it ended up coming normal. And I remember looking at it thinking, come on, a month? It looked more like 5, 6, 7 days. It might have taken you might have gained an inch literally over a 3-week period. I'm making this up, but the point is that it responded very quickly. It was like within a week that the groundwater went right back up on C5. So,
yeah. Okay. Any other question from the comment from the commissioner? None. Could I have a motion to approve this project with those conditions?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abedili,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
Tangney, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Griffin. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Yep.
Thank you.
The last continuance is Tobas Willow to repair, reconstruct sandbag array originally authorized and constructed under SE 3-2677 and SE 3-2678, provide beach nourishment and on-bank planting as needed at 25 and 35 Cove Lane, Austinville, as shown on the assessors map 052 and 053, parcel 009 and 012-002. This is a continuance without testimony from September the 20. Oh, actually, we had some testimony on the 23rd, and the quorum is everyone. So, Aline.
Good evening. First of all, you should be looking at plans that are dated 9/25. We did some minor revisions. We discovered a couple of Scribner's errors on the second sheet. There's no change in the actual design, and there were no changes at all except for the revision date on the first sheet of the plans.
Okay.
So very quickly to go through this, because I know you're all tired. The project proposes non-structural bank stabilization at 25 and 35 Cove Lane to replace the deteriorated sandbag revetments that were permitted and constructed in the 1990s. Although the design varies slightly from location to location across the project site, based on the width of the beach above mean high water, the basic design is for large lined coir sandbags stacked against the bank rather than laid horizontally on the beach. They'll be held by a few coir rolls set at the toe of the sandbags. Coir rolls are much heavier than the sandbags themselves, and so they provide a little bit of additional stability. The array will also be covered, and that includes a wrap around both the sandbags and the coir rolls with geotechnical fabric. And that fabric will be tucked underneath the logs and the bags. And then the array will be secured with stainless steel cable anchored vertically into the beach below the array, not back into the bank. The sediments will be more stable beneath the bags, and we don't want to provide any additional stress on the bank itself. There'll be about 9 inches of cover sediment over the bags, between the bags and that wrap, and then 3 or 4 more inches of sediment over the entire array and the wrap into which the plantings will go. We're proposing annual inspections with supplemental sediment placed if the bags are starting to be uncovered at the toe, and maintenance of the bags as necessary after consultation with commission staff. So you'll be entirely aware of what's going on at the site. The annual inspection takes some of the question away from, what's a storm that might require somebody to look at the site. So they'll be getting inspections whether they need it or not. And then clearly after there's a major storm, there'll be an inspection as well. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we're talking with two contractors. They have diametrically opposed proposals on how to do this work. One contractor thinks they should do it entirely from the water. The other says they can do it predominantly from land-based. Probably is easier to do it land-based because you can shuttle the sand down a chute over the bank and truck it into the site more easily than bringing all the sand to the site in a barge, because there's no extra sand in this system. So we can't use sand that's already on the beach. Unfortunately, that means that we need to wait to get an approval and find out what your conditions might be on the project. Then we can give that information to the contractors, get the bids back and review them. Once a contractor and a methodology are selected, then we'll provide you with a construction protocol to be reviewed by staff. Talk with Ed, should the work be done or proposed to be done from the upland. We'll come back to you with a plan revision that will show the access for the work at the site. We would hope that this could be done at the same time as the addition on the property that you approved a few weeks ago. So this probably isn't a politically correct terminology, but the site will be dug up and torn up for the addition. And so the contractor probably won't have too much consideration in the way of damaging vegetation following the both projects completion. The landscape plan that was approved by the commission would be instituted and the site would be put back together. We would observe a time of year restriction for shellfish because the intertidal zone has lots of soft shell clams here. The site's not mapped by Mass Natural Heritage for shorebirds, and so we would not need to observe that time of year restriction. All the pieces of the old bags, all of the tie down from the old bags will all be removed from the site. But the wood retainage that's there, we would like to leave. There's really no way to remove it without completely destabilizing the bank. And I would be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Arlene. Any question from the commissioner, Bill?
Yeah, on your plans, you have a C1 transect, and it has a wooden bulkhead that's roughly 50 feet long. And I was just wondering about that. In my first year as a commissioner in 2022, I was quite surprised when we dealt with this project before, where you were proposing a bulkhead along the entire stretch. And I learned that the DEP had a de facto prohibition, if you will, of bulkheads and jetties and the like. And so, you know, we denied it, and you now have come back with this plan. And I think it seems like a good plan, but I'm thinking that you have this 50-foot bulkhead, and that's a new bulkhead? Is that you're putting that in? Or is that, no, go ahead.
Yeah, that bulkhead apparently was put in as bank stabilization when the original sandbag wall was built. There is an acknowledgement in the old file from Rob Gatewood that says it was there, they had seen it. They weren't going to require it to be removed, even though they hadn't understood it would be part of the project. The bulkhead that we proposed, or the structure that we proposed in the project that's under appeal, is actually a wave break. It was to be built out on on the beach off the toe of the slope, and then fill placed behind it to stabilize the toe of the slope. That's the thing that is denied.
Right.
The DEP apparently determined that the sandbags that are there were not a coastal engineering structure and therefore could be authorized. And that's how the long sections of sandbag wall that have been there for a couple of decades now got installed.
I'm good. It's because you have that 50 feet of wooden bulkhead that's old. I have no problem then. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question from the commissioner? None?
John looks like he's dead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't raise the muted. Arlene, there's a request in here for in perpetuity beach nourishment. Can you explain that? How's that going to be limited? You're just talking if it gets washed away, you're going to replace what you initially approved there. Is that right? I mean, yes. What you're asking for is in forever beach nourishment rights.
When we request a certificate of compliance, we will request that that condition be continued forever. Together with the consultation with staff, after every inspection, we have told the clients the annual inspections need to be continued forever. And they understand that now. I don't think they understood what the inspection requirements were originally.
And as long as we understand that when that condition is asked for, that the beach nourishment be limited to this, so that it's not, we can bring it in anywhere. That was a minor concern. So we can
we're not proposing to create a bathing beach here.
No.
Right.
It would be all based on the revised plan dated September the 25th.
Right, Tom. Thanks. Thank you. Angela.
It's probably more a question for Ed than Arlene. I think I understand the project. You're going to remove the old cables. There will be cables, but there will be sand and beach nourishment and bags covering them. So it becomes an enforcement order. Should the house sell to someone else, or they just stop doing what we ask? Is that all I should be concerned with right now? That I understand this is like a resiliency project and they're trying to do the best they can in this area to hold what they have. So it would just fall under an enforcement order. If this all goes for naught, it becomes too expensive. Every year that we're having storm after storm, the water's rising, the sand goes out, they bring in more sand. And when they eventually decide not to do it or they sell, then at that point, it just becomes an enforcement order. Is that what we're left with? Ed, are you the one I should be asking this for? This is really for my information.
I could sort of make a comment there, Ed.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
As you probably know, Angela, their certificate must be filed with the Registry of Deeds, and it goes with the property, and it's, quote, in perpetuity. That becomes the basis of an enforcement order, and theoretically, if you've got a good lawyer representing you when you buy something, they do deed research and say, whoops, here it is. Make sure you're aware of that.
Right, and I know they're going to make a law about that.
There are a lot of lawyers that don't do that.
Right. I'm not trying to keep us here late. I was just trying to understand. I get why we're doing this, and it sounds like everybody's on board for it. I just want to try and understand. The only way that when this falls apart will be an enforcement order, because it's going to be difficult to maintain this, correct?
No, yes. I'm not sure. I guess that's my question. Like you're asking about, so you're saying it's like if something ends up, if they decide to no longer do the project, it's not like we would be forcing them to do the project. Is that what you're asking?
No, I mean, after the project's in and they put new cables in and new bags in and all this gets done, and then they realize how they can't fight nature. And nobody can predict this. And we're bringing in sand and they're trying to fix it every year, what we've all agreed to. And then they decide either not to do it or they sell and get out of here. It just becomes something we'll have to deal with then. That's what you have to tell me, and I'm ready to move on.
The answer is yes, Ed. I mean, it's an enforcement order, just like Angela said.
Right. I mean,
maybe
it's the same.
Angela, yeah, there actually was a situation like this on somewhat grander scale on the Outer Cape recently. You may have read about the blockhouse, and they actually had the ability to build a wall. We don't. And they tried, and they moved the house back. It was a bigger piece of property, and eventually they gave up.
It was condemned,
and
right?
The town issued them an enforcement order to remove the house, which was in danger of falling. Initially, they said they wouldn't, but in fact, they did it. And now it's what's left of that lot in a vacant condition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comment from the commissioner? Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None. So let me try to read through a couple of conditions and see whether you have any comment on that one. So number one, assuming Arlene is the consultant on this project, so if there is any change in terms of the consultant, we need a written notifications to send to the conservation administrator for notifications and approval for the change of consultants. That's number one. Second, submit a construction protocol to be prepared by the contractor at least 3 weeks prior to, let me see here, 3 weeks, 3 weeks prior to the pre-construction meeting. And then there will be a pre-construction meeting with the staff at least, 2 weeks prior to the constructions. And depending on what the condition or the access to the construction, because whether it's by barge or by land, it will be determined by then. But if it is barge by land, then they will come back with showing the location of access to the land, to the site. And then if it is by barge, it will be the work shall be conducted from a barge. The barge shall be deployed as to provide at least 18 inches of clearance between the lowest point of the barge and the bottom. A time of the year restrictions between May 1st and June 30th of any calendar year shall be observed to protect spawning habitat. Let me see. Work shall be limited to mid-tide falling and to mid-tide rising. Excess material from the previous sandbag installation, sandbags, tie down cable and anchors shall be removed from the site and disposed of in an appropriate facility. And then annual monitoring report for 3 years for the planting and the proposed bank protections. Site inspections shall be undertaken at least annually to assess the need for additional sand coverage for the banks. The conservation administrator shall be provided with a brief inspection report and photograph. If additional coverage is required, the administrator shall be informed and provided with the proposed state of work and amount of material estimate to be placed. But this is all based on the September the 25th drawing layout. I think that's all I have. Did I miss anything? Ed, are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I just we'll wait and see which way you want to go, or which way they decide to ultimately go with the access.
Right. So depending on which contract that they're selecting, and they have to come back and tell us that.
Yeah, I would prefer the land, but
yeah. Any other comment from the commissioner on those conditions?
Good job, Tom.
Yeah, good job.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve this project with those conditions?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Shulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tagny, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have
Thank
two
you.
certificate of compliance. The first one is John W. and Alan M. McMahon, SE3-5899. The second one is John T. and Elizabeth M. Gangley, SE3-6046. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Shulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tagny, aye. That's unanimous.
Our next hearing is 3 p.m. on October the 14th. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
You betcha. Abadili,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Shulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tagny, aye. That's unanimous. It's 9:30.